So a fun thing you could do at home, perhaps, if you have a little bit too much veg or you're looking to cycle things out of your fridge, is that you can ferment them, and this will actually keep them for longer than they would keep in your fridge anyhow. The rule of thumb for fermenting is, well, you need a clean container or several clean containers because I'm going to do a couple of things. And whatever your dry weight of veg is, you need to add 2% of that weight of salt. And what that's going to do is it's going to kind of enable the right bacteria, the right yeast to grow, which are going to ferment your vegetables. It's going to become live. It's going to become probiotic, and ultimately it's going to preserve it for quite some time, like months even. So here we have, in fact, what we had that was starting to turn a little bit in our fridge were Brussels sprouts. So I've cleaned all these up, and it is important when you're like going to ferment something. You want like healthy bugs to grow. You don't want, like, if you've got like little black bits growing around like we had here, we had on some of these. You want to get rid of all of that. I've kind of done most of them already, but just get rid of anything that looks a little bit suspect. It's just not worth putting it in there because it could spoil your mix. And when you've got any of those little kind of slightly sketchy looking bits off, then get rid of that. That last leaf. Just make sure it's all looking pretty good. When you've got all the sort of nasty bits off, you can then think maybe about a little bit of extra flavour. So I'm going to put a bit of onion in here, a bit of carrot. Not entirely necessary, but what you can have at the end is actually going to be very slightly alcoholic, because the yeast that's going to grow is a similar sort of thing that happens in like beers. And back in the day, this is how they would have preserved things to get through the long cold winter months without fridges and freezers. This was the only option. So I mean, quite fine. We're still going to kind of ferment and self-pickle. The similar sort of thing, like everyone probably knows sauerkraut. Sauerkraut is exactly the same thing. I mean, like Brussels sprouts, you may not, some people don't necessarily like Brussels sprouts, we love them. And it, it is a form of cabbage, and sauerkraut is a very famous fermented cabbage. Just going to push this in, give it a bit more punch when it comes out. Maybe even a bit of carrot. Even that's some decent onions. The carrot, a little bit of celery. And if you don't know what mirepoix veg is, mirepoix is like your 4 basic vegetables that make up the sort of flavour that you start a lot of your stocks and sauces and such things with. It's onion, carrot, garlic, celery. In the case of seafood, sometimes you might have fennel. So that's going to go in there. Start the scales, zero it with a container on top. See what we end up with. 354 grams. So we're going to go on 2, 4, 6, 7 grams of salt in there. Zero that again. Sea salt as well. Don't necessarily have to be a posh, expensive sea salt, but 7 grams. Brilliant. Give that a bit of a mix up. Get the salt and everything's mixed up together. And then a kind of appropriately sized jar. Start pushing that in. And then, these things want to be jammed in. You get as much space out as possible because the salt is going to bring a brine. out of your veg. And that brine is going to run around your veg, and the yeast is going to start to grow, and it's all going to kind of circulate and bubble and fizz. And it's a self-preserving reaction, I guess. It's all going to grow, bubble, and then you can keep that for months, and it tastes really good. I love fermented chili sauce. This is a fermented chili spring onion thing that I did at the end of last year, and it just once it's fermented, it kind of calms down, and then it just sits there and keeps. You leave it in your cupboard, and you pull it out later. You've got this slightly tangy, kind of lovely little chili pepper onion relish that you can just chuck on practically anything. So